Now, all animals on Earth, not all, not every single living thing, so not all bacteria, but all animals need oxygen to survive. If they don't get it, they die. So it's really, really important that there is a way to obtain oxygen, and different animals obtain oxygen in really different ways. So to go through just a few, what I've got over here is I've got a picture of a planaria. So this is it's called a flat worm. So this is it from the top. But if you look at it on the side, it's really, really, really thin and flat. So the planaria is interesting because it doesn't have any special way to get oxygen, but because it's so flat, oxygen just diffuses into it from the environment, and carbon dioxide diffuses out. So because it's so flat, it's only a couple of cells tall, or a couple of cells flat. And because of that, oxygen is able to diffuse across and get to all the cells. So every single cell needs oxygen, but it's so flat that oxygen can just get to every single cell. Another way that organisms get oxygen is insects. So it's interesting to have a look at insects. Insects have got these tiny little holes in their body called spiracles. And the spiracles lead to these tubes called trachea. So there's trachea inside insects. And those tubes just have oxygen in them, and they carry oxygen around the body just when the insect's kind of moving around. Some also have those little air sacs in them which store oxygen. The oxygen goes to all the cells use it up and create carbon dioxide, and the carbon dioxide then just kind of, again, comes out of the trachea, out of the spiracles. But all the time, oxygen and carbon dioxide is just going into these little tubes in insects. Oxygen is going in, carbon dioxide is coming out. There's no particular way to kind of force oxygen in. It just is just slowly moving in and out the entire time. Now we know that fish don't live in air, they live in water. So how do fish get oxygen? So fish have this fantastic organ called a gill. So I've got a picture here of some gills. It's got all these very fine little gill structures here. You can kind of see here. And blood flows through gills all the time, carrying with it carbon dioxide to be got rid of, but also blood requires oxygen in it. And so what happens with gills is fish flap their gills, and when they do that, they push water past them. So the water is rushing past the gills, in all these little cracks. So it's touching all these fine little gill fibers. And when the water is rushing past the gills, the oxygen in the water is able to diffuse into the bloodstream because there's blood kind of right near the surface of the gills. And so that's constantly happening. The blood is actually flowing in one direction, and they push water past it in the other. But when that happens, the oxygen from the water is diffusing into the gills, into the bloodstream, so that the fish, the cells of the fish, can basically get the oxygen that they need to survive. And of course, we'd be familiar with humans, and of course humans have got lungs which enable us to obtain oxygen. So air comes in our mouth, or oxygen comes inside in our mouth or our nose, goes down our trachea, a little tube here. This splits into bronchi, which splits again into bronchioles, so lots of little tubes in our lungs, and these end in little sacs called alveoli, and it's at these little sacs that the oxygen is diffused into the bloodstream. So lots and lots of blood is flowing past and around these alveoli at all times. So it's bringing carbon dioxide rich blood to the alveoli. The carbon dioxide goes into the alveoli, the oxygen goes into the bloodstream. Oxygen is then taken around the body in the blood, and the carbon dioxide then zips back up the bronchioles, back up the bronchi, back up the trachea, and you breathe out carbon dioxide. So we're always breathing in air, which has got oxygen in it, and we're breathing out air again, which has got a greater percentage of carbon dioxide in it because of our lungs, our bronchi, and our alveoli, which are basically transferring oxygen from the air into our bloodstream all of the time. And the reason that all these animals, so planaria, grasshopper and fish and humans, the reason that we need oxygen all the time is that all the cells of our body all the time need energy. And we obtain energy a lot of the time by something called aerobic cellular respiration. So that is, we use glucose, which is a type of sugar, and that's combined with oxygen, which we must have. It's converted into carbon dioxide, which is really a waste, water, and really importantly, energy. So cellular respiration happens all the time in cells, the entire time, to give the cell energy to be able to do the things it needs to do to survive. So that's why we obtain oxygen, and it's really interesting to look at the different ways that different animals do that.